Welcome back. In this video, we are looking into the illusion of free will. Now, this is a very misunderstood subject, so I hope what we're going to give you today is going to give you a new understanding of how free will works. And if we've got the message right, and you haven't heard this message before, it should disturb you a little bit because it really changes the whole perception of what a human life actually is. So let's start off with what people think free will is. People think they've got a feeling in their head. Sometimes someone asks you, what is it you want to do? What is it you really want to do? And you go deep within, and if you're lucky, you get a sense that you might want to do some little adventure in this life. You might want to marry a certain person, do a new job, get a certain type of car, whatever. There are all these things that seem to come from within you. And when someone asks, what is it you want to do? That's what you're referring to as your earthly human free will. And unfortunately, that is a major, major part of the entire illusion that you are experiencing, because you have dropped in to your human personality who's been programmed to want all of these things. When you start doing things like astral projection, you start to bump into all the energy forms and guiding spirits all around you. And you will see that they are dropping thoughts into the human head. They're dropping intentions or desires into the human head. That's why some days your body will wake up and suddenly something drops into its system and the body self-identifies as that new idea or objective. It says, I want to do this. I want to go out today. There's something I want to do. And at that moment, that body has self-identified with whatever has been landed in it. It's rather like this. If you don't see these things coming in, you think they're you. When you don't realize that some little low energy form has dropped a new thought in your head, you will think it's yours. But when you see these little energy forms or guiding spirits dropping these things into the human system, into your head, then you say, hang on a minute, who said that? Who just gave me that idea? And this comes back to the fundamental question of free will. When you're in a situation that these things are just dropping into you and you don't notice where they came from or who said them or who gave them to you, and you then think, what is it you want to do inside? You're like a puppet, simply following whatever instructions it's just been given. And that means you have no free will at all. You are in an illusion of having free will when there's none. No free will. Not at this level anyway. Because if you really were going to have free will, you have to leave the illusion of being that human form. You have to leave the illusion of your current earthly identity. You've got to get up and out of there. And only when you get out of there do you then reconnect to the real glory of what you are. You turn into an amazing light being. There are other ways of describing this. You could be your higher self in some forms of explaining it. In other forms of describing it, you become a godly presence. You become a oneness where you are everyone and everything. When you get into that kind of state, you realize that the human personality, metaphorically speaking, below, was simply just something you're experiencing, like a character in a computer game. So anyway, there you are, up in your higher state, your real self with no personality anymore. And at that stage, you can start to choose the experiences you're going to have at a lower level. And when you're choosing the experiences, it's done through unconditional love and the slightest of intention or little bits of curiosity. At that kind of level, you realize you're designing a human experience, or if it's not human, some other life form too, perfectly possible. But sticking to the human one, You are designing the human experience you're going to have. You're designing an adventure, like dropping into a movie and playing the hero. That is what you're doing from a high level. And from that high level, you then are experiencing a fantastic free will. And here's a little telltale indicator of when you're doing this. If you're at the earthly level and you've thought, what's your free will? It's often to have an easy time, to have a rest. You'll probably think along the lines of more money, better place to live, nicer relationship, bit of sex of some sort that you'd like to wrap into the whole thing perhaps, but a better, more comfortable life. And yet, when you go up and you become that higher version of what you are, you see it very differently. You start to perceive it as much more what looks exciting, what looks challenging. And that comfortable life might not look so good. Yes, have some comforts in it, but you'd also want it to be exciting. And this may involve difficulties, perceived problems. And this is what gives you the distinction between merely daydreaming about free will and getting up to a higher level and putting some free will into the whole system. When you're up at that higher level, you will choose things that your earthly body might be afraid to choose. So there's a huge difference between the two. And when you're up at that higher level, you'll often be asking your guidance team, what can you suggest? What do you think we should try? And they will come up with various scenarios and novelties you'd like to give a go. If, by the way, you're not really sure about what kind of scenario you might like to choose, remember that there are multiple versions of you and many of them are already playing out. So when you get up to a higher level, you can look down upon some of the parallel versions of the current you're experiencing and see if they offer any insights that you'd like to pick up and copy. So I hope that gives you a better understanding now. Free will is not just taking whatever is in your body right now and saying this is what you want. It may be, it may not be, because the higher you may have put in that suggestion of that's what you, the higher you want to do, or it may not be. And that's why you need to check to what is your real free will. And when you check what your real free will is, you'll often discover that that little feeling you had wasn't the top thing you could achieve. It was in fact the base. It was a starting point of what you could achieve. And from there, there's much more that you can do in this world. So go for it. Reconnect with what you really are and rediscover your true free will. It's going to change literally everything.